Hello, Sarah of SEK Handmade here, and today I want to share with you how to crochet into the back loop of a starting chain. Now, every time I share this technique, some people say to me, Sarah, that's just how I learned to crochet. And some people absolutely did. There's nothing wrong with learning this technique. But when I learned to crochet, this is not how I learned to go into my starting chain. But once I learned this technique, I never stopped using it. The reason is simple. When you crochet into the back bump, you get this really beautiful braided edge on your starting end of your project, which one, looks super nice, and two, can be kind of useful. So I really love this technique. It's super simple. I'm going to show you how to do it. It can be done with almost any project. What you're going to do is you're going to start with your slip knot on your hook, just like you would for any chain, and chaining is exactly the same. Just yarn over and pull through your loop. Now, I do find that when working into a chain, no matter what you're doing, it is super helpful to chain on the loose side, because going back into those stitches can be a little tough and there's not a lot of give in a starting chain. So once you have chained the number of stitches that you need, whatever the pattern calls for, you're going to see the front of your chain, which is all of those nice the little braided side of the chain. You're going to take it and you're going to flip it over. And those bumps that you see there are the back bump of each of the chains, and that's what we're going to work into. So depending on what type of stitch you're using will depend on where you place your hook, but just follow the directions of your pattern. Go into whatever chain your pattern says, but instead of going into the front of it, go into the back bump. So I'm going to do a half double crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into the back bump, just front to back. No big deal. Pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all my loops for my half double crochet. Once you've gotten into a back bump, your chain kind of turns and it's easier to see. You can see all of those bumps to go in, and then it's just the exact same technique. Since I'm doing half double crochets, I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to go right through that back bump, pull up a loop, and pull through all three. There's my back bump. I'm going to insert my hook and complete my half double crochet. Now, if you pull this back loop a lot, it can kind of yank on the next back bump and make it a little harder to find. You can see this one's a little smaller, but it's still there. Still gonna do the same thing, though it's a little harder to get my hook in this time because that one's a little tighter. Oh, and you can see I missed one of the plies of the yarn, so I'm going to try again. Right through that back bump, even though it was a little harder, and finish my half double crochet. And now you can see I have two more back bumps to work into. I'm going to do the same thing, right through, pull up a loop, finish my half double crochet. Now, I tend to find, and I don't know if this is how I crochet or if it's just typical, so I'm going to let you know. I tend to find this very last one the hardest to work into. And so if that is the case with you, you are not alone. It's the same thing though. Just put your hook through that back bump, yarn over, and finish your stitch. Again, you don't have to do half double crochets. You can do whatever stitch your pattern calls for, and no matter what stitches you put into them, as long as you go into the back bump, you're going to get that lovely braided edge. So that is how you work into the back bump of your starting chain. Written instructions are in the description. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any tips or tutorials, and happy crafting!